Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to my channel. And I hope, as always, each and every one of these videos are helpful to you as part of your journey. As I share with you some of my journey and some of the things that are coming up. Today is December 19, 2021, wherein I'm making this video. And, the energies of this month as we are part of a full moon yesterday and even today. Is bringing up, I think, a lot of different things as we move forward into 2022. Just in a few days, it's in many ways hard to believe how fast this year has sped by. And for those of us as part of the spiritual community that are noticing all these different shifts in what's going on as we raise and step in and stand as part of the consciousness and stand together with the collective and understanding that we are raising the vibrations and going through an awakening and ascension. No, we are literally going through multiple timelines each and every day, multiple times a day. So things have really been moving along, not just a year, but so much shifting, so much shadow work, so much digging into having to deal with things, go all the way back to our childhood, to go back to our belief system. And we're no longer able to be part of the old consciousness where we can literally just grin and bear it. We literally have to deal with it today. We have to heal it, respond to it, to love it, and to understand what has been going on. And interesting, I had something take place this week with one of my mentors in a phone call. She mentioned with me how often when she has a conversation with me that I don't often talk like I do in my videos here, that I respond with okay, yes, no, very short answers. And that she has to pull it out of me a longer, what's really in my head, what's going on, and she has to ask me to talk to her. And in recognizing and examining that, I realized, and it really kind of hit me this morning as I was in the shower. That's where we do a lot of our thinking and receive a lot of our downloads, right? Is in the shower, it just hit me like in a lot of different ways of how the reason why, perhaps I'm that way. I mean, and it stems back to 7 years old. It stems back to 5 years old of a time in your childhood when many of these things are being manifested all these years later of having to deal with that. And what I realized and remembered was as a child, I was had a very, very strict mother, and she would not allow me to talk back to her. I would get my mouth slapped or I would get my butt whipped. It was one or the other. It was a discipline. And it was to the point, even if she felt we had attitudes, we were disciplined over that. So we weren't allowed to be our authentic self. When company came over, there were certain things we were not allowed to say. My father was a psychologist that worked in the criminal justice, the prison system type things. And so we were hush hush about that because there's people that could have come for him and wanted to kill him. Then we homeschooled. We were homeschooled and we're out there in the state of California. And there were truant officers that would go and pick up kids that weren't in school and, put them into foster care and things like that. So there was a lot of different reasons and factors that were associated with the old consciousness of fear. There were no doubt a very part of the decision and the raising, as well as the old structure of discipline and all that, that are very much a reason why a lot of this things was happening and why my childhood was the way it was. But it came to the point that a lot of times when I spoke, maybe I was squeaky and a little too loud. I was told, shh, be quiet, don't talk so loud. And so I learned that the best thing to do is actually to be quiet and to actually just stay over in your corner and not to actually ruffle any feathers or, anything like that. And I am naturally introverted, whether it has anything to do with my discipline and all of that. So I've become even more secluse, even more introverted as a result of this upbringing, to the point that many times I've been afraid to speak out. Over the last couple of years, I found my voice more and more. And especially when I was pastoring the last church, I was able to find my voice. I literally, out of the middle of nowhere, it felt like, begin to have things to say, to respond to. And I also had to begin to learn to fight for me and understand nobody else would fight for me. And I'm the only one that can really fight for me. There's nobody that is going to go to bat for me like myself. And so, in realizing that, I had to stand up against some people that were trying to control me, and to let them know what my thoughts were on the things, and cut those ties. But realizing, and this morning, one of the things that I had to do was spend a little time in actually talking to my 7-year-old self and being able to say that, 7-year-old Daniel, that I see you, that I love you, and I sending hugs, I'm holding you, and I want you to know that you are seen, and you are heard. That's the most important thing, dealing with this situation, of understanding that, be able to send that 7-year-old child, you are being heard. What you have to say is important, and send healing to that time. And what has begun a life to where this present day is, it's so ironic to where, I mean, it's like somebody's going to be offended. If you post something on Facebook, somebody is not going to like it. Somebody's going to be in your inbox, whether it's religious people, whether it's whoever it is, that are literally, you shouldn't post that. You shouldn't be posting that. You shouldn't be posting that as a Christian. You shouldn't be posting that as a whoever you are. And then to top it off, now we've been dealing with several years now of censorship, to top it off. And it's literally like, what are we supposed to do with these things? Sorting through, healing and understanding, finding our voice and responding to these situations, and recognizing what they are and where they are. It's so interesting. Another part of my journey and childhood was watching my parents, who were religious, like I've already mentioned. They were independent Baptists, and they homeschooled us and all of these things. And some people would say I had a very, very good, a very, like a pure or protected childhood. And in some ways, that is true. Yet at the same time, like I mentioned before, there was not a lot of authentic truth, that was where we were all being authentic with who we really are. We, to a certain extent, had to have an image before the general public, because that is what was required of you to be independent Baptist, to look a certain way, dress a certain way. There's some independent fundamentalists that don't believe in beards. There's some, for sure, no long hair, all those different things, long dresses, no pants. There's a lot of different religious beliefs and practices that come with that. But one of the things that I watched growing up, that, you know, I mean, it was my parents' lives and what they wanted to do, but they literally believed so strongly against divorce that my parents literally stayed together, and they coexisted together. My dad, dealing with a lot of it, just jumped into his work and just really poured into his work. And when he could get a job out of the area, he would be gone, and then he would come home, and he would be there for a little bit, and then he would head out to the next job. He just poured into his work, and it was awesome because we were provided for and all of that. My parents did the best that they could with a consciousness and understanding of where they were, but in many ways, A lot of parents don't understand. Children see through these type of things. Children understand, whether they misunderstand or don't fully understand it or not, that just because you stay together does not mean that you are having a perfect marriage, that everything is good, and that it is in harmony in the way it really should be. And everybody has to work through these things. But a lot of people, my parents would have celebrated their 50th anniversary in 2011, I think it was, had my mother not passed away in, it was about May of 2010. So they were that close to celebrating their anniversary, just really a few months to celebrating that. And a lot of people thought that was absolutely wonderful. But in recognizing some of these things, everybody does what they know and what they understand. But there's a lot of different levels of the onions that are being pulled off of our belief system and understanding with all these different things that we can learn from the lesson, even of our parents enduring, grinning and bearing it, going through a lot of things because that's what you're expected to do, or because of a belief system. Like they strongly believe that God hated divorce to the point that they refused to divorce because they felt that God would be angry with them. And plus, they hated the image of everybody seeing them actually splitting up. And I'm sure they were concerned about us kids of how we would be damaged and what we would go through as part of a broken home. But the fact remains that a lot of people need to realize and understand you can be broken and still together as a couple, and that affects the children as well. A lot of my siblings and myself, I mean, we are all over the place. Certainly not the perfect family that a lot of people thought that we were and looked up to us to be. And so another aspect of it, as I've mentioned as well, that I feel led to share with you today is that dealing with the religious system, the pressure of the religious system, kind of you can probably see with a thread that I've been telling you all the way back from, there's certain things you can't say. I mean, a lot of Christian homes, a lot of churches actually are against cussing and swearing and things like that. So it can start with something like that. It's seemingly good. Don't use those words. Don't say those things. Don't speak your mind. Don't allow yourself to be your authentic self. And I think it's important that we do have some discipline. We do have some structure. There is some things that can be taught that can actually help a person to be able to be a productive person in society. Yet it can start with some of those things where you're shutting down a person due to these religious belief systems that are handed down, that are passed down as traditions, and in many cases are not even really that biblical when you come to research it and understand it. They're actually not, but they are a religious system. And there's a label thereof. Like I said, independent fundamentalist Baptist, that is a label that defines a group of people that really are concerned outside of what they would say the gospel, are really concerned with your outer appearance, your beards, your hair, your clothing, your dresses, if they're short or long, women not wearing pants, no earrings, different things like that, that are part of a religious system that they declare as being biblical, that are not necessarily biblical, but are an interpretation thereof of the Bible and how they want to put it forward. And many of them, again, under the old consciousness, are teaching the very things they've learned in seminary that were taught to them by their teachers, that were passed down. So they're not necessarily knowing these things and understanding what it is, because until the day you awaken and go, holy cow, why have I believed these things? And where is even the biblical basis for them? And is that one verse that is used as a biblical basis really the grounds and the foundational uh, proof to literally be able to take all of these things and build such a major system to where we are walking around and judging everybody else that doesn't look, act, talk, smell, whatever, just like us. You see, it puts people in a very judgmental, cynical way of looking at other people because you're holding a standard that was never even established by God or by the Bible. It was established by some man system, a group of people who got together and decided that this is the fundamentals of the faith, that these are the truths that must be held. And as a result, we have moved so far as a society, really from even the God of the Bible, from the truths of the Bible, from any of that, not to mention that we are having more and more evidence coming out that we are only given a very, very small portion of the Bible. 66 books of the Bible is what we currently have in most of our homes and in most of our hands or even on our phones. But we are coming to find out there are 711 other books that were hidden from us. Many of them were burned. They tried to destroy them because they actually tell us and let us know a lot more about ourselves and the freedoms that we have of who we are, why we've been placed upon this earth. And those who wanted to control us took those away from us, and they are being found and thankfully have been preserved by people who have had to hide them, who have almost been killed, if not actually killed, for the fact that we're hiding them. But that's another story for another day and perhaps another video. But it is very interesting to me of all this that I mentioned, I realize that everything that has happened in my life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, has all happened to actually get me where I am and help me to understand and for my consciousness to be open, for me to be awakened and to be where I am, to find my voice and be able to speak where I can, even if it's making a YouTube video or Rumble video or Facebook video or whatever it is, to be able to share my journey with the hopes that it helps somebody else's journey. But I realized I needed to go through each and every one of these things to realize just how broken our systems are, to realize just how broken our belief systems are, to just see how broken our religious systems are. Because if I had not had this happen to me as a child to where I was not allowed to talk, I don't mean to say not at all, but there was just so many circumstances when company came over, and I was told, don't say that, don't, just be quiet. Children are to be seen, not heard, was something that we heard a lot growing up. And so it was what we practiced. And here I am at 40 years old dealing with this shit from my past, and having to move forward and try to wade through how do I deal with this? How do I change 40 years of programming and, literally dealing with this? How do you grow a business when you're afraid to talk? And it's not just afraid of talk, when you literally don't have anything to say because you've been so shut down. You've been so programmed because you're going to offend somebody if you speak and open your mind. I mean, it is as simple as something like, one day I posted, this is over a year ago now. One day I literally posted a picture of some rocks that I had gathered from the river. And I had some people come unglued on Facebook over my rocks and why I should not be worshiping these rocks. And I'm like, I'm not even worshiping them. I just posted a picture of these beautiful rocks that nature had given to me that I was enjoying and understanding. But some people, because of their belief system, will flip out over these things. And I'm having to learn and realize and understand and be okay with that, because it's all part of their lessons, part of their programming. It's part of what they have to see and hear and understand and walk through. And so one last thing I want to share with you, because it's interesting. I was realizing it even today, that all my life growing up as a child, for some reason or another, my family was very, very involved with church. My mother was the organist in a number of churches. One of my sisters would play the piano often. My sisters would be in the choir. I would be up there turning pages for my mom. We would be the custodians, janitors, the secretaries. Like, we would get very, very involved with the church. And there were some parts of my life, I was literally at the church every single day. I was doing my math, my reading, all of that right there in the church, hours of day at a time, sitting in the pews. Um, Grew up just really in the church a lot. And just about every time the church doors were open, I was there. My family was there. I remember as a little guy, 2, 3 years old, falling asleep in the pews at a church in Madera, California there. And, to the choir practicing and waking up after having been carried out to our minivan and, on the way home. So that's how involved we were with churches. And for some reason along the way, I would get very close to many of the pastors, and they would always greet me and rub my head and ask me how I was doing and things like that. And I realized as a result, many people, you know, believed I had a call upon my life to be a pastor. I was told that a lot as a child, and I did as a child. I used to turn garbage cans upside down and I would preach from them. And so many believed I had a call upon my life, and I believe that I did. Okay, and still do, but it's in a little different aspect. I literally, long story short, I ended up coming over here to Dunn, North Carolina, went to a very legalistic seminary that was part of my journey also in recognizing and realizing just how understanding more of the fundamentalist and the cult aspects of them and some of the belief systems that are just so controlling. And that was part of my journey to move out of that and to understand abuse that is associated in places like that, that is clearly not of God. And so I go to seminary for 4.5 years, and I ended up getting a bachelor's of theology, long story short, with that as well. And I would move forward. I've pastored different churches, and whether it's like assistant, associate, end up taking a church that basically was dying. And, as I look back, I literally was part of burying that church. That church had to die. That church was so far gone. And the hate and the just so many things were so prevalent in that church. It was time for it to close. And with that was my awakening, my entering into this conscious understanding of moving forward, of recognizing and realizing the fraud, the abuse, the broken system that is primarily what a lot of people refer to as Christianity. And particularly here in the South, it is much more of a works-based, a much more of a holiness doctrine, to where it's not enough for Jesus to die on the cross for your sins. That is sweet to people, but they don't respond to the simple grace-filled message of Jesus upon the cross. They're looking for more. They're looking for the length of the dress, the style of the hair, those practical outward things, the non-biblical portions. And I fast forward all the way to now, I've had to come and be okay with understanding that those that hold those belief systems, this is part of their lessons. They too must go through these things to understand the illusion, to understand what's really been going on, to understand the wool has been pulled over their eyes. And we've all been there. We've all done that. We've all taken things at face value and believed that they are what they are. When it comes down to it, nothing is as it seems. Even time itself is but an illusion. And, it is painful when you finally realize and understand just all of the things that we've accepted, that you find out what kind of illusion. You understand where the fraud is. You understand where the corruption is. You understand the abuse is actually from those that you have put your faith and trust in. And it's not a pretty day. And that's why most people don't want to deal with these things. Most people don't want to handle them. They don't even want to come on and make a video like this because of the repercussions of doing so. You'll be attacked for doing something like this. Yet it is the most wonderful thing to realize and be able to understand and move forward and be able to take those steps to move into your freedom and your understanding, and also to move into an awareness and a consciousness that there is so much more than just the 3D out here. There is so much more to life, that we have everything that we need inside of us, that as we step into the love of ourselves first, we in turn are able to pour out love for others in a better way, as we let go the bonds of legalism, of what we're told we're supposed to do, of letting go. And that's something I'm having to work to do, is letting go of what everybody says I should say and what everybody says I should not say, and stepping into my power and saying it regardless. And that's one of the reasons why I came on to do this video, is to be able to share this with you and hope that it helps somebody along your journey to know you are seen, you are heard, you are understood. More and more people are coming to a consciousness. More and more people are awakening. And as we do, we get the opportunity to hopefully be able to encourage one another to join forces and make this world a better place. You were sent here for a reason. You are special. You are amazing. You are incredible. And I just want to tell you, thank you so much for watching this. You are so important for this period of time. You are here for a reason, and don't let anybody silence your voice. Don't let anybody make you stand down from your power, from your divinity, from your sovereignty. Let's stand in it. Let's be amazing. Let's do this life together. Reach out to me if I can be an encouragement to each and every one of you. I'm going to drop my links. I am also a health and wellness coach. I can help you to get healthy, lose some weight, even gain some muscle. So I will drop my links down there, and I look forward to seeing you all very soon. Have a great day.